Hi, welcome. This is Dr. John DeMartini. This is one of the most amazing and inspiring shows that you can listen into. If you want to be on the edge of your seats, if you want to open up your heart, if you want to expand your mind, and you want to meet incredible people, stay tuned because you're just about to experience a transformative radio show that will change your life. And you're listening to the Dr. Pat Show that's coming up right next.
Welcome to the Dr. Pat Show. Talk radio to thrive by. Powerful, inspiring, and coming to you live, bringing you stories of people like you and me, busting through and living life full out. Get ready to dare to wonder what your life would be like if you knew you could not fail. Oh my gosh, what would you do if you knew you could not fail? Okay, like what? All right, so look, I'm just gonna love this now today. I love talking to and having on the show and then listening to their show. If you listen to their show, you're gonna learn something. But today, we're gonna talk with Coach Martez and Woodrina Layton. You know, they have a great show. But we're going to talk about why does marriage have to be so complicated? So that question, like I asked at the beginning, what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail, right? Most people would have a relationship, but the reason we don't enter into relationship is because the gloom and doom of the inevitable failure that we are now socializing in our consciousness, in our society, not just us. It isn't just us. We aren't the only people have ridiculous divorce rates right now. Look at some of the other countries, right? But this used to be something that people would just want to have, so much so. What? So much so that my friends in the LGBTQ community fought so hard. They're like, we want to get married because provide something special. Wow. And when you don't have it or you can't have it, you realize that you're missing something. And, people would ask, why do those folks want to have what marriage? Why do they want that? Well, you're going to hear about it today because they look, the LGBTQ plus community understood a lot of things that you're going to hear about today, but they also understand one thing. It's not very complicated unless you make it complicated. And if you make it complicated, like we do, and I'm not saying that folks, that people in the gay marriage arena are not having their problems. That is not what I'm saying. But man, when you fight so hard for something, I don't care what it is. Don't you treasure it a bit more, folks? Have you ever fought for anything? Don't you treasure it? Well, today it's about fighting for love. This is what we're talking about. I was given boxing gloves at age 5 for a reason, not to knock people out. But when you are or cannot experience the beauty of what Coach Martez and Woodrina talk about and what they do and how they help people, you get this emptiness. So today I want to introduce you to my friends, my colleagues, incredible people. They have been working with over 20 years, been helping people come together and stay together, and not doing it because they got some book on a shelf or because they got some magical thing they read once, but because they live their lives and understand the nuances of what it means to create amazing love. Despite the potholes, the things that go wrong, the baggage you bring and you don't even want to open. So today's show, you're going to meet these folks that have been married for a few years. And more than that, they've created a massive platform of how to take things out into the world. So if you're thinking, I don't even know where to begin. We've had such a tough 2 years. Oh, you got to call them. You just got to call Coach Martez Woodrina. You got to call them because this is something they help people with. And today we are taking it on. Why does marriage have to be so complicated? Welcome to the show to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you
for
Dr.
having
Pat.
us.
Wonderful introduction.
Great.
So glad to be here. We appreciate it.
We have made it complicated.
Yes.
Now, I'm not saying it's not. I'm not saying you don't have to figure some things out, right? Especially now, we live in a different world. Woodrina, I'm going to hit you up with this one first. We're living in a different world than my parents did. Although I got to tell you, my stepmom, she was like independent. She was like, no, honey, you're not taking my money. So, but there were generations where things were not thought about. It was like you got married and like he did this and you did that, and but we are not in that world today. So putting the complications of finance and just getting your act together to get knowledgeable. What do we bring to the table that makes this complicated, Woodrina? Let me just start with you. Is that okay, Coach, if I start with you? Okay, all right.
Hey, ladies first.
It all depends on the person, but we bring a lot of emotional baggage to the table. That's going to make it complicated because we don't know like past relationships, things we haven't dealt with in our past relationships, just some of our own issues that we haven't personally dealt with, because it's like you said, this is a different generation. So they're coming in with a level of independence, money, they've made vows to themselves. So if you come in with those vows front and center, and it's like, no, that's baggage, because that can cause some problems in your relationship. So it's various things. It all depends on the individual. You got childhood, the way you were brought up in your childhood. That's baggage. It's like, well, I want it done this way because this is the way my parents did it. This is the way we did it. This is what my mom did. This is what my dad did. That can create problems. So, those are some things that we bring into our relationship nowadays, just up front, no, I want to work. I don't want to stay home with the kids, and, back in our day, it's like, yeah, hey, that's what I wanted to be a mom. So I wanted to stay home with my kids, but this generation, they want to work. So they rather hire them a nanny. So then the husband has to agree with, okay, that's, that nanny is going to be taking care of the kids. So that's going to be a problem with us. So it's many things that, nowadays that you can bring into a relationship.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you. And Coach Martez, look,
yes,
I mean, I know you're in agreement, but you also know that there are some nuances with this. And let's just unpack that baggage for a minute. Because Woodrina she kicked it off. I get it. People for years would say to me, why do you not celebrate your birthday, Pat? I mean, it's a cool day. It's like December 11th. Why don't you celebrate it? And, I went to therapy once and I realized there is a reason I didn't celebrate it, but I didn't know that. When your mama is caught shoplifting for your birthday gift on your birthday, December 11th, and you're spending it in the jail in the Bronx, there's a lot of reasons that you got some baggage packed in that suitcase.
Exactly.
That's for real, Dr.
But I mean, that's just an example. I mean, I celebrate my birthday now, but I didn't understand why I didn't want to. Isn't that what we're talking about here, Coach?
Absolutely.
We need to get at what we don't understand about this, right?
Right, absolutely. And Woodrina hit it. She hit it very well. Bottom line is we want to just talk about the hurt or the pain that we have. And we really want to be honest with actually talking to, if we have the ability to, grandparents, aunts, uncles, really help me to understand some of these things and be honest with me. We have so many family secrets, or we hide the family traumas, but in actuality, you're hiding it. But in my future, that's going to come back out. And then whoever I'm in a relationship is going to be like, man, like the deer caught in the headlights. I'm like, I didn't marry this. I didn't know this was there. But in actuality, I didn't know either, but my family knew. And so we really just want to just say, it doesn't have to be complicated. If we really understand, just like raising a child, it takes a village. We're really having a healthy, successful marriage. That also requires some support from family and other people also. So definitely, that's what we're talking about. It doesn't have to be complicated.
Yeah. See, I love what you're saying because I come from a family of family secrets. I shared on air recently that the greatest family secret we had in my family on my mama's side is that my grandfather was born in Brazil. Hello, what? farmer in Brazil, like nobody talked about that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and then, you know, the internet, it's like, why are all these people asking me if I'm part of their family? They're like in South America. That can't be.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, then it gets you on a course to just find the truth.
Yeah.
But let's talk about, there's baggage and there's baggage.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, that bit of baggage for me, and there's more that people experience. You could be brought up as an adult child of an alcoholic. You could be brought up as somebody with siblings that just treat you like Hellboy.
Yeah.
And you just don't even know how to unpack it. But relationships will expose it.
Yes, it will. Yeah, it will.
Yeah. Yeah.
And let me ask you this question. I think the mistake that most of us have made, I don't make this mistake anymore because I learned that when stuff comes up in a relationship, you better go get some help.
Exactly.
You have to go get some help. You cannot work it out on your own, especially if you don't have tools. But, you know, part of this is, do we just accept the baggage? I mean, what, you know, people are like, oh, now that I know I got baggage, now what? You know, what? It's like, what do I do, coach?
No, that's a great question, Dr. Pat. You know, and one of the things, it's so important that you ask that question, because you really have to kind of make that decision. And everybody's different. You know, we always talk about how it's important to know, what do you have the grace to really take on?
Yeah.
And it's just being honest, but it's one of those things that, you know, just because you really love a person, if they withheld information that you didn't know, they may not realize their baggage could be a trigger to your baggage. So then all of a sudden, when this comes up, if I'd have known this years ago, then, you know, your abusive background, my alcoholic background, and neither one of us has shared the truth about what we was dealing with. Then all of a sudden we wonder why, oh man, snap. Here comes somebody about to get a charge. But in actuality, if we both would have been honest about our upbringing, our background, and said, you know what, let's get some help on this. It's just like with Woodrina and I. You know, I know all the listeners may not know, but that was infidelity on our part. Well, we found out after doing what we do professionally, that over 90% of people who parents have an affair, Dr. Pat, you end up having an affair. So honestly, you know, that was something like that type of baggage. You know, if you tell people up front these things, it helps them to prepare. And that's what we do with our premarital couples and other couples, you know, help them to understand, be willing to ask your parents tough questions.
Yes, because
don't let them off the hook.
And that's true, because in that case, like, we didn't know. So that was baggage that came up, we had to accept. And so then you go get the help. But you know, we really want to, when we talk about why does it have to be complicated, we want to prevent this, because what we want couples to learn to do is be transparent up front and share your baggage, share your issues. That way we can make a decision if we're going to continue to move forward and having this knowledge. And that just starts with being transparent and non-judgmental. Because if I know I can be vulnerable with you and you're not going to judge me, then that makes us, you know, that makes me more, I'll be more open with you. You know, that makes me, it helps me to be more comfortable with being more open and honest with you. So that's what we try, you know, that's what we really encourage, you know, our couples to do. Let's be upfront.
Put it on the table.
Let's put it on the table up front. Let's be open up front.
And, you know, I'm so glad we're talking about it, because I want to skip the break and I want to roll right into this. For those of you that are just tuning in, I want to make sure you know this is what we're talking about today. If you have any questions, give us a call, 1-800-930-2819. Why does marriage have to be so complicated? Thanks to Coach Martez and Woodrina Layton joining me here today. What we're doing is we're going through it. You know, what are some of the things that cause complication? And when you don't address them, as you both said beautifully, it gets more complicated and more complicated. And I want to jump to this next part, because this was hard for me. It took me a while to get to the place where I can do this myself. I don't need to go to somebody and get some help, until I did. And you know, the straw for me, and every time I share this, people say, we don't believe you, Pat. This cannot be true of you. The straw for me was a physically abusive relationship. It was mentally and verbally abusive, but then it got physically abusive. And that was the last straw for me. That was the thing. Mm-hmm. And yes, you're looking at me saying, really, Pat? Somebody like you, you know, when you're in relationship with people, you will do some things that you wouldn't do in a normal world. But let's talk about getting help, because I got help. Now, the good news is counseling, coaching, therapist, great, whatever. Mm-hmm. That was non-negotiable, and they knew it. That was it. The counselor knew it. That was physical abuse is just not negotiable. That's not even baggage. That is not what we're talking about. But let's talk about this, because some people are like, yeah, I want to go get help. And some people are like, nope.
Yeah.
Woodrina. My mama used to say, you can bring a horse, you can take a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. And then she'd say, but you can't shove their head in that bucket. I don't think so with that was my mama's version of that. She said, yeah, you can take their whole head and put it in that trough. But that coaching is a little different, or is it?
No, well, coaching is a little different, because with coaching is more like what we do is we help people to see. You relate it to sports and coaching in sports. Coaching makes you better. So a lot of people are more open to coaching when they realize, oh, okay, you just want to help to make me better. You know, that's because with a lot of times people see counseling as, is something wrong with me, which really that's the stigma, because it doesn't mean something is wrong with you. You know, it doesn't have to mean that. We all need it. We all need to be better. But with coaching, it's like, okay, a lot of people are more open to that, because it's like, okay, you know, when you relate it to sports, it's like, okay, you're just trying to make me better. Okay, well, I'll come to it. You know, there's a lot of times the wife to say, get her husband to come. Okay, I'll go there and I'll see what they're talking about then, since, you know, coaching is, you know, is different. And a lot of times once they get in and see our approach, it is like, oh, okay, yeah, I like this. But you can't make someone do anything they don't want to do. But in those situations in a relationship, then you have to realize, okay, how much am I going to put up with before I do give an ultimatum? Because you have to have the grace to deal with someone who has issues that they don't want to work on.
Oh, that's so true.
Yeah. I mean, I love that you talked about that, because the options and the alternatives are not very realistic, right? When you have created so many layers of complexity in a marriage, I mean, and there are layers, because we are talking about layers, right? You know, sometimes it seems like you wake up and, you know, everything was great, and now today it's not, but we know that it's not like that. What has made this work for each of you? I mean, you know, you are the coach and the counselor to many people, but you didn't get there without figuring out how to make it work for you. I'd love to hear from each of you. Like, what was the thing you had to change in yourself? You had to say, oh, that thing, I'm going to change that. Right now, clearly, you know, you mentioned infidelity. Clearly, folks, if you're listening to this and you're thinking you're going to go get some help, and you're still thinking, I'm going to meet my girlfriend, not my wife later, then that's a whole different conversation. But I want to hear from each of you on, when you thought about this, what were you willing to change, Coach?
That's a powerful question. And that was a process for me. And that process started by being willing to be totally transparent and honest with myself. You know, that's one of the things that I tell everybody. I said, you know, what makes it so easy for me to see the good in you is because I had to learn myself how to see my flaws, how to see the things that weren't good, that need to be changed, but realize when God saw me, he still saw me as good. And so for me, you can have these challenges, you know what I'm saying? I cheated on my wife. How many people can hold their head up and stick their chest out and say, man, I cheated on my wife, but I know God loves me. That's not the approach you take. You like, oh my gosh, everybody's gonna. But for me, it was one of those things by understanding I failed. And so then when I work with other people, I understand if you've fallen, my mission and my gift is to help you get up. And regardless of what that mud looks like you're in, I understand that once you are cleaned up and you get all that mud and dirt off of you, you go back to being that amazing, shining, happy person that you are. So for me, it was accepting truth because for you, I've been with my wife since I was 18 years old. I'm 51. So I'm 51 years old. So just all of the changes of not making excuses, accepting the truth was a process for me. Like even to the day, I tell Woodrina, I say, no, when I hear truth about me, I don't justify it. I don't make excuses.
Yeah.
I accept it. And that was one of the changes for me that really helps me to be able to do what I do very well in with helping others.
Yeah, boy, I'll tell you, you nailed it. I mean, so often we get angry when we get feedback or when we hear truth.
Yeah.
We get resentment. Then we start to finger point and say, oh, that's not me. Woodrina, that's got to be all about you. Not saying you do that, but just taking that in, and for people hearing what you just shared, those are acts of courage and vulnerability combined.
Yes.
Right? Woodrina, how about you? What did you like? What'd you like? I got to change this.
Yeah. So for me, it was like dealing with my insecurities. It's me dealing with my insecurities and learning how to be confident in me as a woman, being confident in myself as a woman, because for many years, the things that I put up with in my, because we share about the challenges in our relationship, the things that I put up with, it was all because of my insecurities that I just wasn't assertive enough to really just stand up for myself in my relationship. So it was me learning how to deal with my insecurities and be confident in that, and also deal with my baggage, which in my opinion, I'm still dealing with today.
Yeah.
So I'll be in therapy to the day I die.
Yeah. And I'm so glad you brought that up. Let's talk about that for a minute, because a lot of people that enter into they're all in. They want to change. They want to get help. Let's do it. It's like the kids in the car. Are we there yet? Right? Are we there yet? I mean, I remember the first time I went to my first therapy session, and I ended, and I get up to walk out. Dr. Juanita Lovett, and I get up to walk out, and I said, "That's great. I'm glad we're done." And she just looked at me like, "What? You're done for today. We haven't even started."
Right.
And what I love about that is because this is about being a work in progress. Isn't that the number one willingness you've got to have?
Exactly.
Is to say yes to be a work in progress?
Exactly. That's the number one willingness, because we're all a work in progress. And that's how that's how you can look at counseling as not, and as something good. Because I'm a work in progress. None of us are perfect.
No.
But, I'm going to continue to work on myself so that I can be my best self. And that's the way you have to look at it.
And that's like with Woodrina, like all your continuing education classes that you have to take to keep your license.
Oh, yeah.
So then you think about from a relationship standpoint, like I always tell men, and men, because men are visual, they get it real quick. I just ask them, if you've had a car for 10 years, but you never had an oil change, you never had your brake pads changed, you never had any type of maintenance done to your car, I just ask them, how is that car going to run? And they say, it's going to run like a piece of junk or whatever. I say, well, then just think about it. That's how your relationship is. So when we talk about, coaching and counseling and it's stopping, you don't stop going to the dentist twice a year.
Right.
You don't stop getting medical screenings just because now I've reached this age. No, this is something you do because it's called preventative. And that's what people need to understand about coaching and counseling is more preventative and helping to maximize.
Yes.
Counseling can help you to heal, be restored and prevent some things. And then coaching helps you to overcome those hurdles and get to that place to be your super self, to be that person that you dreamed about really becoming and maximize who you are. And that doesn't stop. You know, I want to be, we've already said we're going to be 75 years old, still talking, you know, hey, I don't want to stop. You know, I don't, you know, so it's like, no, you don't. Yeah.
You know, I love that you use the car analogy. We're going to take a break here in a minute, but I love that you used it because I remember saying it. I was at a couple sitting across from me. I don't do couples coaching anymore, but I'll send them to you. But I had a couple sitting across from me, and I used the car analogy because I grew up in a mechanical family.
Oh, wow.
I mean, we worked on cars when we were like 10. Wow. You know, our nails were like oil, greasy, dirty, like for years. 3 girls. That's what my dad had to work with. And so I use car analogies a lot. And I remember saying, here's the deal with a car. When it's new and it's fresh and it's shiny, what are you going to do? Maybe you're going to wash it a little bit. Maybe you're going to vacuum out the inside. Then you got a couple years and you're putting a little something on it. You kick the tires and, oh, wait a minute. Tires are getting a little thin. You got to take care of your tires, right? And then you're working on the car and you realize, well, wait a minute, just like you said, you got to change your oil. I said, this is what relationships are like. You see, people think that the longer you're in relationship, the less you have to do. No, it's like the car. You know, you have got to make sure that if you want to be in it to win it, for as long as you both have been in it, then you've got to pay attention to the detail. Because early on, you never had to think about your transmission. You didn't have to do that. But a couple of 10 years down the road and you're hearing some grinding, hello, call Coach Martez and Woodrina. If you, and you know, I remember this couple saying to me, this is why I don't do coach. I remember the guy looking at me and saying, that is a really good point. And he said, didn't your mom, I always refer to my mama, didn't your mom ever tell you that sometimes when a car gets old, you just have to trade it in for a new one? I said, that's not this coaching session. We're going to take a break, but tell folks how they can find out about you, what you got up and coming. Tell them all of the above.
So if you want to find out more about us, you can visit dreambuilderscoaching.net. On Facebook, we're Dream Builders Marriage Coaching and Counseling. And for our event that we do is Married for Life, the number 4, married, the number 4, lifewalk.com. And we'll talk more about that later.
Yeah, when we come back, we're going to talk about what is it that made, you know, both Coach Martez and Woodrina start this. What is it that they see and even see more today? What is it that the statistics now are starting to demonstrate for all of you about these past couple of years? What are some of the stats showing? The thing to know about what we're going to talk about when we come back is that don't throw in the towel. Don't throw in the towel, right? You know, there's some people that will not get rid of that car. And if you hold that car long enough and you treat it well, by the time you're even thinking about getting rid of that car, its value is doubled. It's become precious. It's become valued. It's become something unique and something special. For those of you out there that sold that 68 Corvette, you're thinking to yourself, mistake. Let's take a short break. We'll be right back. Hey, everybody, welcome back. Why does marriage have to be so complicated? And we're talking about ways to prevent it. Coach Martez and Woodrina Layton is joining me here today. And what you should know about the both of them is they are part of an organization, you know, Dream Builders Coaching, and they do so much more. You know, whether it's looking at, you know, the counseling ability and the experience of Woodrina or the coaching that Coach Martez does, you know, when we're talking about bringing 2 people together from that bring different skill sets to the table. And you're right, Woodrina, I'm with you on that. In order for you to even keep your license, you have to get certification, like, and take classes like all the time. And same thing with coaching, but both of you have come together to make sure that there's a powerful message in what's possible for people. Again, let's give out your website before we, you know, get in and talk about what is it that Dream Builders Marriage and Coaching and Counseling does that may not be what people think, right? So how do people find out about you again?
Yeah, so of course, our website is Dream Builders with an S, coaching.net. Facebook, Dream Builders Marriage Coaching. Instagram, Coach Martez and Woodrina Layton. That's how you can find us. Beautiful.
All right. I want to talk about this a little bit because we were talking during the break, and I wanted to point this thing out. It's important for us to have a conversation about what your coaching and counseling practice is about. Right. Foundational pieces of it, the value pieces of it. Yes. You know, what does it feel like when you both work together with people, right? Because it is a unique proposition in the way you approach this, but you also bring inherently in the process, you know, some value systems that are very important to people today. But just like I said before, or I was saying during the break, you know, my situation was one where my counsel was, you have got to get out. Because if people aren't going to change, especially if you're talking about verbal and physical abuse,
yes,
right? So talk about how you all got started in this and how you've then cultivated, you know, this dynamic between you to be the coaching and counseling entity it is today. Who'd like to start? You want to take that, Coach? Woodrina?
Okay. Well, you want to start?
Go ahead.
Oh, look at that. That's so good.
So I was just going to talk. I'll talk about how we got started. So basically, we got started from our life experiences. Yeah. We both had other careers prior to this. I was an elementary school teacher, and he was an entrepreneur. We had a full service dry cleaners. But because when we went through our infidelity and we were really looking for that, it was so painful, and during that healing process, we were really looking for someone who was a Christian, a professional, and had actually overcome it. I didn't want just because I was dealing with so much pain. I didn't just want book experience. I wanted you to tell me you had went through it yourself. So since we couldn't find that at the time, then as we continued to pray, we received, you know, the Holy Spirit ministered to us and said, you become what you're looking for. Like you're going through this for a purpose. You're going through this for others. So then I went back to school. I was finishing up my master's in counseling education, because my dream was to open my own school, but God said, no, you're going to be a counselor. So then I went and got my master's degree in counseling, and he went to school for life coaching. And that's how Dream Builders Marriage Coaching and Counseling came about.
Right.
What a perfect blend though, right? Because you both bring unique skill sets to the table, don't you?
Yes.
I mean, let's talk about it, because, you know, most people, they go over here for this and they go over here for this, but you both have really created this beautiful, you know, tapestry of taking different skill sets to bring to the table to help people. And most people have to go to two different people to get that. You know what I'm saying? Coach, what do you think?
Oh, no, that's what has made it beautiful. Because of the fact, the way I explain it to everybody is, you know, first of all, you have a husband, you have a wife. You have a person who is listening with counseling experience, and you have a person that's listening for coaching experience. And sometimes what happens in a lot of relationships, a lot of times you have them be at different stages in their challenges or whatever. One of them may have something that really kind of needs a counseling ear, and the other one really needs something to help change perspective and just realize this is something you need to start changing or start implementing in your life. So then when we begin to blend that together, they really both feel validated. They really both feel like we're listening, because technically you have a counselor and a coach that's listening to you. And the women, you know, it's really weird to me. A lot of times men find Woodrina more comforting to them, and the wives be, but you know, sometimes you'll have people saying, well, no, my husband said, well, when he was in the session, the counselor, who was a woman, was always taking my perspective and this and that and that and that, you know what I'm saying? Or the wife will say, or the partner would say, you know, we had a man and it just seemed like he was just listening to my husband. And then they say with you all, it's like, you all are, they just say you all are different. It's like, but see, I explained to them the difference is you're getting a blend of that, and we're really valuing and validating the both of you emotionally with where you are. But the goal is to solve the problem and to help you to move forward.
Right.
And we don't want to just keep listening to the circle of what's going on. We got to help to get you in a direction till we hear it, but now we're finna move forward.
Right.
And, you know, that's what I love, because they are different perspectives. Woodrina, I want to ask you about this for a minute, because, you know I know a little bit about the counseling perspective. And, you know, when you take and look at the depth and the breadth of what happens when you put both skill sets together, people get a multidimensional, what they get is multidimensional aspects of how they can shift and change, right? One might bring an understanding of the depth and the breadth of maybe something you've had when you're growing up. You know, the other person may say, look, you're going to need to change this, this, and this. And I love that, because a lot of times when you go to counseling, you know, our counselors are very reluctant to say, I need you to change, except Juanita Lovett was like, no, you need to change that. She was like, you got to change that.
Right.
But that's what people need today. Isn't that why we're talking about why marriages get so complicated? Because we just dilly-dally around the issues.
Yes, you need someone who can actually hold you accountable to the things that you need to change. And that's the difference when you come to us. Even though I'm coming from a counseling perspective, I'm still going to hold you accountable to the things you need to change. It's kind of like we tell people, I'm going to do it in a softer way. Martez is really going to come at you because he's the coach, and that's what coaches do. But I'm more gentle about it, but I still want to see change, and I'm still holding you accountable to the change.
Right. Because like I expressed to them, a lot of them, you know, most of them got kids that either do swimming, dance, baseball, basketball, soccer. I say, you see the way these coaches push your kids. And if I ask any parent, who do you want your child to be on? What team? You want them to be on a team with a coach that's going to stretch them to be the best that they can be. So I always let them know, when you come work with me and Woodrina, she's a counselor at heart. I'm a coach. So just understand, I'm coming to maximize and cause you to be the best husband or wife you can be. And that's not going to always look pretty. You might not always like it, but that's my job, is to help you to be the best that you can be.
If people are showing up to work with you all, they have got a feeling of pain. They're feeling pain. And then once you learn that you can move beyond that pain by doing some things, then you decide, I'm not going to wait 10 years to change my oil. I'm going to keep this going. Isn't that one of the most important messages that you all bring? It's like, you're not coming in here because you broke your transaction and you're going to get it fixed. You're coming in here to make sure the engine of you two works.
Exactly. Because it's like, and we're that, you know, we're that picture, because we've been there. We've been in that painful place you're in, and we're on the other side. And if you're willing to do the work, you know, that it takes, you can get on the other side too. So it's like, we understand where you are, but we're going to give you the tools to get on the other side.
And I will say that's something that I know helps couples to really become comfortable, especially with men, because, you know, I'm a very transparent person. I always tell our clients, there is no question that you can't ask us, because we understand our job is to make it where our pain actually helps you to change your perspective and understanding. So I tell them, there is no question you can't ask us, but with us being transparent, I see men kind of, you know, drop the defense wall and realize, you know what, I'm talking to coach, but coach is telling me for the first 16 years of his marriage, he was a horrible husband and hitting home runs as a father. So I'm already letting them know I'm not perfect, but I've worked to become who I am. And my job is to help you to become that amazing husband or that amazing father I know you are. And it relaxes them, because they say, man, I ain't never been able to talk to nobody, but I can talk to you.
That is true.
Yeah, I mean, I really, I feel for people right now. I mean, it's not that I haven't really, I've seen some things in my own experience, my own life, my own relationships, but I don't think we've ever seen quite what we see happening today.
Oh, yeah.
Over the weekend, I just heard a friend of mine's daughter out of nowhere getting divorced.
Mm-hmm.
He wants a divorce.
Mm-hmm.
And, some people say COVID. I say COVID was shining a light on some stuff,
Mm-hmm.
right? It may have accelerated some things.
Mm-hmm.
But where there's smoke, there's fire,
mm-hmm.
right? And isn't it important from your perspective? And I would love to really hear each of you talk about this, to get at the root of things.
Yes, it is. It's definitely important to get at the root, because just like you just said, how so many people now are getting divorced. Like I say, they lack the commitment. Like it's like nowadays people just don't have the commitment. They lack the commitment, and if you don't get to the root of the issue that's causing you not to want to commit, then you're going to continue to repeat those cycles. So it's very important to get to the root, because marriages could work if they would be willing to just do the work. I mean, it takes work, and a lot of people just nowadays, they just selfish and don't want to commit.
Yeah.
But I love that what you said, Dr. Pat, because I know I was just telling a client last week when I was telling them, I say, see, it's one thing to know the fruit of your challenges, but I say until we get to the root, the cause of it, I say we can't begin to correct it. So you're absolutely correct. Most people want to stay surface, but you have to get to the root to be able to overcome these complications and these challenges. They get you into a happy and healthy place.
One of the things I want us to talk about here, and I know we've got a little bit of time left, is this is not just about going through and like, let's put a Band-Aid on something. This is also about people learning some skills. And, I know that you all do work in even communication, like how do people communicate, like how to create a safe, safe zone to have a conversation about what's really going on with you without putting your partner in the gutter. Right. And these are skills that last a lifetime, and that's important. I would like each of you to talk about that and address that, because that's a fundamental difference that I see in the way you both work, because it's both this combination of we're going to get at the root cause, and by the way, we're going to learn some skills here, right?
Yes, always. Oh, yes. And like I always tell the couples, we're going to give you the tools and the skills, but you have to apply them to your relationship. If you don't use them, nothing's going to change. No. So the skills, that's key, because you have to do the work. Relationships are work. I always say marriage is work, but relationships are work, and you have to be willing to put in the work every day. And as you do it, it's going to become natural. It's going to become a natural way of your communication and your conflict resolution, but you have to do it. You have to apply the skills.
No, I love it, because when I think about what you just said, when you talk about the skills, and one of the things I like to tell especially the men, just kind of connecting with them, it's just like how you say you have a master electrician, a master plumber, a master mechanic, or whatever that master may be. I tell them, I say, you want to be a master communicator. You want to actually master the skills of communicating. I say, this took me time. I used to be a horrible communicator. I didn't value my wife with my words. I didn't do that, but I say, I've learned to do that. And I say, and I always talk about the 3 Ds: discipline, desire, and delight. And I tell everybody, we starting right here, discipline, because I got to help you to understand how to get that skill to become a master at it, because you can become a master listener, a master person that communicates well. And so, no, I love that, because see, they understand that, because a lot of them want to be perfect, whether it's in golf, because they know about that golf game. They know about how many times you got to be teeing off to really do what you got to do in golf, and really mastering your swing. You know what I'm saying? But I say, just like you want to master your swing, I want you to master how you approach your wife with something that bothers you. It's the same way.
Yeah. And, you know, part of this is what you do to bring people together, to remind people of all of this. You also, if you could just talk about this for a little bit, you know, talk about what does this mean, you know, when you're bringing all these people around to the 5th annual Married for Life walk, the weekend experience, because see, it's one thing to talk about doing stuff, but then you actually bring people together and, you know, create something for people to connect with. Because I agree with you. I mean, I have watched in my sport, I've watched more videos over and over and over, like how to put a certain spin on a ball to the nanosecond. And I've watched it. And then you go to try it. And it's like, I need to go back and see that again, because it doesn't matter how many times I've watched it. I don't have the experience of doing it or understanding it. And, you know, and you feel isolated, but you bring people together. Can you talk about this for a minute on how you bring people together? Because when you bring people together, you know, there's something that happens when 2 or more are gathered.
Yes. That's power. And so we bring couples together every year for what we have, what we call as our Married for Life walk. And the purpose of the walk is just to encourage couples to never let go of the hand that you're holding. We all experience challenges in our relationship, but if we remain committed to God and one another, we can overcome those challenges. And we're proof. We have many other couples there that are proof and testament to it. So we give them words. It's like a weekend of recommitment, rededication, words of encouragement,
forgiveness.
Yeah, it's just a whole weekend where they leave.
Comedian, dancing.
It's fun. It's fun filled. So they leave strengthened and encouraged to never let go of that hand, because there's so much power in just taking that time to walk and hold hands with our spouse or, you know, our partner. It's so rewarding, because we have security in one another, trust. It's so much power in just taking that time to hold hands and walk together.
And it is for couples who are dating, couples who are engaged, couples that are married. And we definitely invite the LGBTQ plus community to come out and join us. We always say that we have that because like I tell people, it's about love. You know, regardless of how you was raised, regardless of the church you may have attended, that's something about our journey that we've been through. You know, I've just come to know love people. You know what I'm saying? And that's what we're about. We're about love, you know, so definitely we have old, young. The thing that touched my heart more than anything was that we had a guy pushing his wife in a wheelchair. And it's like, man, that's a journey. So it's definitely about, hey, don't give up on the one you love.
And it'll encourage you if you're feeling like you want. We've had couples that come that felt like they wanted to give up, and then they'll come and just be encouraged by what they see and say, no, we're going to fight. We're going to work. We're going to try to work this out.
Because we can stand for a lot of things, but we want to get people to stand for marriage.
Now, how do they find out about this? Let's make sure we're giving them the website to go to, because, you know, part of what you just said that I want to reiterate is a lot of times when you're in difficulty, right? Or the complexity or whatever you want to call it, you think you're alone. And if you can come out and be with other people and, you know, have conversations with people, you find that, wait a minute, I'm not the only one on the planet going through this. So how do people find out about, first of all, Married for Life walk, and then also your coaching practice?
Gotcha.
Okay, so to find out more about the Married for Life walk, visit our website, married4lifewalk.com. And then to find out more information about Martez and I and Dream Builders Marriage Coaching and Counseling is dreambuilderscoaching.net.
And then Facebook and Instagram are both the same for the Married for Life walk. It's just Married, 4 Life walk on social media. And on Facebook and Instagram. And we would love for you to join us. To the listeners, we definitely would love it.
And you know, this is what I love about this too. It's also for people that are getting ready. You know, getting ready to get married. A lot of times and I would love to see more people be, what did you say, Coach Martez, earlier, Woodrina? I would love to see people be proactive. You know, I remember talking to a friend of mine who asked me, you know, Pat, if you could do something different in your area of relationships in life, what would you do? And the answer is so clear to me. I'd say I would go get counseling at the onset.
Right.
You know, the minute that I knew this was going to become a serious relationship, something more than coffee, right?
Right.
Then what I've learned is this is the time to really go and get a level of understanding and learn some things and communicate, because through people like you both, you will draw out the best of people. You will remind people of why they got together and allow for the safe space on things that you're seeing on the onset. And that to me is something that I've learned. Why? Not because the other person, because I'll tell you what, I know me.
Right.
I'm not saying I'm a handful, but I'm just saying. I'd thank you both.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you for today. I'd like to know your personal message. I'd like to know what you'd like to leave us all with today, and tell them how to listen to your show too.
Yeah. So one of the things I just would like to leave everybody with is never give up on what you believe in. You know, hold your convictions and stay fast and true to it. And just know, if this is what you believe in, continue to believe in it, and you're going to see it through. I believe that. And
tune in to our show, the Coach Martez and Woodrina Layton Show, Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central, and 12 noon Pacific time.
Now, I love this. What do you want to leave us with? What's your message?
But my message is always healthy relationships don't happen by chance. They happen by choice. That is my key thing right there. You have to do the work. You have to be willing to hold yourself accountable to change. And, and don't feel like your partner is coming at you when they are saying something to you to try to help to make you better.
Exactly. Coach, 10 seconds. Do it.
Never give up on love. Always remember, God loves you no matter what you've been through. You are a champion, and remember that for life.
And my message to everybody out there is, remember this. Do not wait too long to change that oil, because if you do, you are going to have sludge in your engine. Right. Thank you all for tuning us in and turning us on. We'll see you next time.